Sorry. Okay, so we are gonna do a Cali portion, and I'm gonna introduce you to Cali. Hi. We're gonna come back to Cali later on, and we're gonna use other tools, right? I scrapped like 3 versions of this lab because I was trying to size it down, size it up, change it around. But I want to introduce you to some of the tools in Cali. And as we are going to approach the week where we're going to talk about pen testing and ethical hacking, we want to be able to understand how to use it a little bit. We're also going to use Wi-Fi configuration because the chapter talks about VPNs and all of the security components in your wireless device. So we wanted to touch on that today. Okay, if we don't finish, I'll push the lab back. That's due next time. So let's try to get some of the portion done today or all. Okay, so download this lab. So as some of you are setting up, we want to talk a little bit about Cali, and some of you probably already know Cali. So Cali is a Linux operating system that's often used in testing or learning how to become a pen tester, ethical hacker, or we use it in security. There are other OSs that you can use. This version is the simplest. So you might want to sit next to an empty system. Grab a router and then a drive there. Okay, this should be enough. All right. So if you want to try Cali at home and on your system, you can go to cali.org website and click on download. You will find different version. Okay, this is for ARM architecture. On the left, that will be your Raspberry Pi, some of the mobile devices. As long as you use the ARM chip, you can download it. So this is your Raspberry Pi friendly. The bare metal is what you want to download for the ISO, and I did put an ISO file in your folder. Now there are 2 versions that 2 sources that you can download from. One is from BitTorrent. You have to use, or torrent. You have to use BitTorrent or some kind of tool to be able to do that, which you have to disable your security application if you most of us have that, right? So we would use a bare metal ISO. Now, the ones that you're using is a virtual machine compressed image that I had downloaded, and you can just extract it, and I'll show you how you can do that. If you want to run this on your mobile devices, Android friendly, right? You can also use this. There are some apps that you can use with CaliNet Hunter. There are different versions. So if you want to put it on a USB stick, you need to make a live boot. Make sure we read the instructions. Cali is really good at documenting all the tutorial tools and things that give you example, but it's not thorough. Okay, so you can check it out and learn. Now, if you're good at this and you want to get certification, you can get certification from them. Offensive security is their deal, right? I recommend using their books and practice before you go for the certification. This is highly demanded in the field. This is something that's added to the CompTIA and the Cisco and those things. So if you desire to be a pen tester, this is an area that you should practice and you should do it well. Okay, I do have competition that's coming up with the NCL. If you are interested, let me know. I'll get you a token. 5 of my students are competing at California Mayor's Cup this weekend. I can send you some information if you want to watch them. RCC, COD, NBC. We joined like 2 days ago, and Chafee are competing for the college league, and I hope to be in the top 3. No pressure to my students. All right, because I don't want to be last, you know. But last time we were one of the few colleges that compete, and it's, you know, it's hard to beat RCC, but the person that mainly helped RCC, he graduated. So we'll see how my team's gonna be. Okay. All right. So this is Cali. Now, the first thing that you're gonna do is you are going to open up, grab a drive, even if it's not yours, and then grab a router. Okay. Is there one router? Yeah. All right. So what we're gonna do is we are going to extract it. So open up your virtual box. we're gonna import it, okay? So that when after you download the virtual machine, you can choose VirtualBox or VMware Player. I chose VirtualBox because we've been using VirtualBox, but you can use another version. Then you're gonna click import. Okay, I know I didn't write that down because originally I wanted you to create your own virtual machine. All right, so after you open VirtualBox and click import, you're gonna click this little folder to browse to your drive. Okay, go to your element drive. And then you're gonna look for a folder called CIS27 Cali 2022. The old Cali that I put on there for the older classes, those are dated, right? Tools come and go on Cali. So you need to be aware that different version might have added tools or they remove some of the tools that no longer are being maintained. So open this up. So click import and then browse on your drive and you're gonna find an OVA file. That's a compressed format of the virtual machine. And then you're gonna click open. Then we're gonna go next and it's gonna pull all of this and then you're gonna click import. Okay, you have to acknowledge the policy. So we have to click agree. And it's gonna take a few minutes, okay, to pull. So click import on VirtualBox and then browse to a folder called CIS27 Cali 2022. And then you are going to click import, accept, and then it's going to go. So the login for it, the username is Cali and the password is Cali out of the box. That's how they created it. Okay, so once you have it imported and it extracted everything, you're gonna click start. Okay, so import, browse to the folder called CIS27 Cali. Okay, 22. All right, so the GNU is the desktop version that's going to be used on this Cali virtual machine. And we can close these. Okay, so to log in, you are going to use Cali, lowercase, and then the password is Cali. So where are we at on the lab? We already did this part. Okay, step 3. So for those of you who just got here and you didn't get that, right, we are going to click import, browse to the CIS27 Cali 2022 folder, find the OVA file, and then click import and accept, and it's going to load. Okay. Then after you boot your machine, you're going to log in. And it's going to take a minute to load the desktop. So you're going to see the dragon, that's their logo. Okay. So I've used the older version of the pre-Cali, which is a backtrack. And so the transition part of it. So when you look at the Sec Tools website, it talks about backtrack and Cali and so on. Anybody have any problem loading Cali? You're going to choose import on VirtualBox, browse to the folder called CS27 Cali 2022, look for the OVA file, then choose that file to click import and then accept, and it's going to load. Okay. All right. Any question? Okay, so after we log in, the username is Cali, lowercase, and the password is Cali. Out of the box, when after I download it, that's what it is. Okay. Now, Cali, you know that Linux is almost all the time when we use Linux, we are going to use the command line, which is the terminal. Okay. You're going to find the terminal button on the top. It's a black square with a little $sign symbol. That's the emulator for the terminal. So you're gonna click that. Okay. Some of the things that I want. So when you start running these tools, okay, I want to show you the tools, but you're gonna be like, Oh, Dr. Nguyen, it's not giving me any output because we have to check a few things. Your network configuration on it is going to be, because if you are just doing NAT, right, it might not be able to reach out to the rest of the network. So how do you change your network configuration? Okay, you're going to go to machine and settings, and here there's a network tab. Okay, at home, if you wanted to test this on your wireless network at home, you need to bridge the adapter. What that means is it's going to take the virtual machine and it's going to connect through your host system communication, which is your network adapter or your wireless adapter if you're using a laptop like me. So when you bridge that, it's going to treat the virtual machine as part of that network. Right now, it's treating it as its own entity, and so therefore, when we're scanning an IP, right, it might not see it. So I'm going to bridge it for you so you can see. Okay. So I bridged the adapter and it's going to say, oh, it's going to use the network adapter that comes in your computer, right? The Alienware. Now at home, if you're using Wi-Fi, it's going to choose that, or you can choose the adapter that you want. If you have multiple adapters like your machine, you can select, right? So when I'm testing, I usually use a system that has multiple adapter. Why? Because if I'm getting flooded on one adapter, I can use another adapter to still search for solution, to connect to other things, and so on. So I always travel with 2 laptops, so I can do twice the work. Because it's just sometimes scan, it takes forever, right? So we're going to use that, and then we can click OK. So what that does is it's going to bridge your physical system, which is your Alienware system, and it's going to connect that to part of the network, and it's going to treat the machine as another machine on the network. You understand? Any question? Okay, so if you don't do that, it's going to be a separate entity. Yes, question?
Oh, which one are we supposed to click on for network?
Yeah, so you're going to click machine settings, and then you are going to go network, and you're going to choose bridge adapter. Okay, and then it automatically pick your network adapter, so we can click OK. So that's the adapter we can use. Now, if you don't want to use that, you can choose the wireless, which is the other adapter that it has. Okay, so understand how to do that. I didn't really write that down, but I wanted to show you how to do that. So we always start our Linux machine with an update. Okay, we talked about sudo. Because you log on as a regular user, you have to make sure that you are a super user when you're doing these things like administrator. So you are going to do sudo apt update. And then put in your Kali password. And it's not going to blink the cursor. So if you mistype, it's going to tell you you're wrong. Okay. If you type correctly, it's going to go and it's going to show working. That might take a little bit for it to go. Okay. It shouldn't pull too many packages because this is a fairly recent version, right? They just released this last month. So, you know, I want to say, yeah, February is when it was February 1st is when they released it. So let's wait for it. And then while we wait, I want to talk about Dsnip. Okay, so you are going to use Dsnip, and it is a suite. So that means that it's a package that has many tools. Okay, and this comes and it changes. Okay, Kali, the developers, they add tools and features, and then they modify things. Sometimes you use a tool like a few months ago, and then when they update the version, it's no longer there, right? And it transitions. Sometimes, you know, they stop maintaining it over time, but a lot of times stable tools like Dsnip would be there for a while. But you need to take a look at the sub tool that's inside. Okay, so there are sub packages that you can use to do pen testing, ethical hacking, and then how we can do some of the other stuff, right? So we talked about, so here it lists all the things that you need to know about that package, okay? ARP spoof, we're gonna send out unrequested ARP replies. So when you're dealing with ARP, remember we talked about ARP, okay? You can also do DNS spoof. Okay. So in the case where if you want to fake the DNS, that's what you're going to do. Okay. And then if you wanted to sniff out protocols, especially password protocols, right? That's what we can use. Okay. And then there's a bunch of other things here. If you want to kill a TCP packets, so this is why when we scan wireless, right? And then what we can do is we can look at a communication. And if you wanted to terminate a packet, that's what you do, right? And disclosure today, this is an educational session. This is teaching you how to be ethical when we're using this, right? Remember regulations and requirement. So you can check out some of the tools and they also give you snapshot of how to use it. Now, it doesn't mean that it works all the time, not necessarily, right? You know the open source stuff. You gotta make sure you test and then you troubleshoot it. So take a look at these. Okay, let's come back to mine. It's still going a little bit. Okay, so what I want you to do is you are gonna use a command called iplink show. This is gonna show you all the interface, which is your adapter that you use to connect to the network, right? And it's gonna list that. Make a note of your IP addresses, okay? Your subnet mask, your IP address, and your physical address, because those three things and the port numbers, those three things are so important in all of the things that we do in security. So the first thing that you should know is what is that network ID, what is the address I'm using, what is the physical address I'm using, okay? 32 packages, it's still pulling. Sorry, I have a typo. Okay, question. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we are going to work on some things. Today we are going to sniff out HTTP requests. Okay, so that would only work well if you have like web traffic, okay, meaning that I'm visiting browser. We're also going to listen in on SSH, but if you don't hear anything, if it's not giving you anything, it's because we have nothing generated. So when do you have SSH? When people are VPNs, using VPNs, when they're connecting to terminal to configure like devices. We're also going to use Yesenia, and this is a tool that has an interface, okay? And you can use it to launch attacks. So when you issue this command, it's going to activate the application, okay? And then we can use the launch attack, okay? So we are going to install and do that. So now you can do a flooding attack, and you know what a flooding attack is? You would continuously send requests until, so that's really good for denial of service. So I want you to see how that can be done, so that way if you need to prevent that from happening, you know how. Okay, there are many tools that would be used for flood. You can flood MAC, you can flood IP, you can flood all kinds of things. So we are going to do a CDP. We are going to use an hping 3, okay? And we are going to also use a trace route. We're going to follow the traffic to Microsoft.com. Now, keep in mind that that domain like this don't always allow you to do hping, right? Sometimes they block it. So if you're not getting response, it's because they're using an entity to block it, okay? So we are going to do that. And then we're going to do an nping with a port 80, that's HTTP. And then we are going to use, now you can substitute this address for something that's close to yours, okay? I only put this in because when I tested it, out of the box, Kali uses 10.0.2.15. Most VM knows that, right? Or if you find a different address on yours, you can use something similar, okay? How are we doing? Okay, so it's stopped now. So we are gonna do the next one, okay, which is Pseudoapp install Dsnip. This is unable to locate packages dependency done. Yeah, under, hold on one second. I remember they said something about, unless they block it here, which is not true. It did. Let's check on that work real quick. Hold on, let me put it back on that. We might have to do that for now. Up arrow.
Professor, fellow classmates found the solution.
Yes,
That's you said you have to update it first.
I did.
Wait, did?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Let me try. Wait, how many?
Let's update it again and see if it pulls the update package. So sudo app update
97. It's not.
and see if it's gonna be able to load it. Yeah, I ran it like a few days ago.
Oh, there we go. I'm doing something.
Yeah.
Look at
Yeah.
the diff.
So when you install the Dsnip, if you did it like right, it should build the packages and then it's hit or miss. So I got, okay, so let me do sudo app install Dsnip. Okay, after I updated the second time, it went, okay? And then it's gonna ask you yes or no, just put yes. And it should take a second for it to go. Okay. Question? Okay, so if it's giving you an error, right, that it can't install, unable to pull packages, redo the update, repeat step 5, and then press yes. Then we're gonna look at our IP. So we're gonna do an IP link show. Check my syntax here. So this is less than showing the IP, using the IP address command, because it's only gonna show you, right, what interface you're using. So the ETH0 is your Ethernet adapter, okay? And it's telling you like the default queue length and all of that. And this is the local, it's always gonna be around, okay? So make note of that, that we're gonna use F0. And now we're gonna use an ARP A, and this is the same as Windows. So what it's doing is it's gonna list, right, the connection that it established in that system. So if you do an ARP A on another system that has more, it's gonna list more than one entry. So right now, because we're pretty new, right? We have a 10.0.2.2, right, on mine, and it put the timestamp on there. That means that the adapter, the network adapter is connecting, right, to that, okay? Any question? Okay, so at step 9, we're gonna do a screenshot. Don't save your screenshot inside the Linux, okay? Press print screen or Alt print screen on your computer, and then just paste it into your document. Oop. These keyboards are so sensitive. Okay, Control V. Hold on. Let's do this again. Print screen. And then or we can snip it. Let's snip it. Okay. So you can open up snip and then just do this like that. Okay. So that shows you, why am I making you save these screenshots? Because later on, you want to go back and look and say, oh, I use this command and what does it look like as an output? So you can have that for reference later, okay? Okay, so what we're gonna do is we are going to do a urlsnarf, okay? And it is exactly how it's supposed to mean in the actual command. So on the urlsnarf, it's gonna output selected URL sniff my HTTP traffic in the CLF. So if you want to sniff out web traffic, that's what you do, okay? And we are going to use the interface with the option I and F0. This is not an O, it's a 0. Remember, we just looked at the interface? Okay, so what it's telling you is it's listening in on port 80, which is HTTP, or port 8080, which is, it could be that could be used for your local web server, or port 3128. Okay, so put down the answer after you got the Dsnip, and it should be these ports. So type down your answer. Question. So what we've done so far is in order to use Dsnip, you have to update and then install it. And then now you're able to use some of the tools inside. Okay. Then you are going to do an SSH show, and we want to do a switch D or an option D for the details. Okay. Now, Linux is going to give you, if you don't put in the narrow down certain things, it's going to give you the verbose, or you can do a -V for verbose. How you want to display some of the information is really important in your command. So you are going to do a sudo. And if it's hanging like this, right, you can close it, because what it's doing is still trying to listen, right? And then reopen. That's fine. Okay. I'm okay with that. We're just learning these tools. So if you wanted to scan, you know, real traffic, you can try to do this later as well.
Stop the process.
Yeah.
Pressing set. It'll just stop it.
Yes. So you can end the process that way too.
Instead of just opening.
You should know that he loves Linux. So
Yeah.
if you have Linux question, he's your person. All right. Okay, anytime it asks for the password, it's Callie lowercase. So what I'm doing is I'm showing you that you can turn on all of these things and then let it listen, right? And then once it's listened long enough, you're going to get some kind of result. As we're progressing in the lab, we might end some of the tasks because it's not, right? It's not going to give you any kind of output right away. But when you scan, it takes time and resources. That means that you're going to turn on all of these things and let it listen, and you wait, okay? And then you can also turn it on, and then you create the log. Remember when we did Ubuntu, how you can generate the log file and then read the file later, okay? So I would normally run like 20 different tools at the same time, and you have to have the capability to do that on your system, okay? So it tells me that it's gonna listen on SSH. Now, since we don't have any kind of SSH traffic going, right, it's just gonna wait there. Okay, so if you know that the network is having SSH traffic, you turn that on. You let it listen, right? Okay, question. So SSH is used for remote connection, authentication, a lot of different things. Okay, so what interface is it telling you? What do you see? Your adapter, right? This is your Ethernet adapter, so F0. So if you're using your Wi-Fi, it should show, right? Your wireless adapter. Okay. And SSH is TCP traffic, so it tells you what kind. So it's looking for that protocol. And since we don't generate it, right? Okay. Then we are going to use Yesenia. Sudo Yesenia -G. Did I put that down wrong? Oh, maybe I didn't install it. Hold on 1 second. Let me look. Maybe you have to install. Yeah, install it first. Sorry, I skipped a step. Do Pseudoapp install Yesenia? I forgot that I had it on my calendar. Pseudoapp install. So anytime you want to install an application, you do Pseudoapp install and then the application name. Okay. So do Pseudoapp install Yesenia and then you can call on it. So unknown option G. Option 8 to display help. Hold on, I think I have the option correctly. Yeah, it doesn't find the help man page. So capital G, I apologize, capital G. I was like, I'm pretty sure it was G. Capital G. Capital G.
I was just gonna open the
So before you do this, you have to install, okay, sudo app install Yesenia, and then you are going to open it. Okay. So this is the alpha version. You click OK. And then you are going to click launch attack. It's on the top left. And then we are going to choose the flooding CDP. So you can choose. So if you want to test it first, you can choose the flooding CDP. And then you're going to click OK. So that's what's going to go right now. See, it's just going to go boom, 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 boom. And then take a screen capture. So you can see that it's sending, okay? And it's generating the timestamp. So all of those packets are being sent. Okay, take a screen capture or snippet. You can exit and close, but you can play with it a little bit, right? You can capture, you can, list attacks, okay? And then as it lists, you can also terminate a certain attack. So this is a good tool to have if you need to generate some form of attack. When do we do that? We want to test to see if our network is strong enough, right? You can do it from the outside in, and so on. So there are options. This is a user-friendly application where you don't have to remember all those commands. And then the protocols, you can select the different type of protocols that you want to use here. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and exit.
Real quick before you exit.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, that's okay. When you did the flooding down.
Yeah. Click launch, tap on the top left.
Okay.
And then you're going to choose flooding CDP.
Okay.
So it's going to generate a bunch of packets.
Thank you.
So you can see that it can activate that. You just have to activate it. And basically it's a script in the back and it's just going to continuously launch different requests. So this is just a taste, right? There's so many more other areas. Kali itself is intensive. Okay. And we will talk about different types of attack down the line. So I wanted to show you how you can also see. So now we're going to do an hping trace route with the verbose, and we're going to do a 1, okay, with the Microsoft.com. So hping 3, it's a common tool. Okay, -- trace route. Capital V -1 www. And then the domain name. Okay, so here it tells me that there's some socket that's not permitting me to do that, and that's on the domain end too. So I can't follow it and be able to do that. And that's okay. What we want is we want the realistic response from that system. So that way we have to be able to go back and see how we would be. So when you use trace route, right, this is verbose. It's going to ping once against the target. If you wanted to ping more, you change this value. Okay. And then this is your target. Okay. And they block those things. hping 3 is a very common tool. So a lot of times companies like web servers, they block those. The firewall just kicks it out and say, nope, you can't send that, right? So that's what we want to see. So if you're testing your public domain systems, that's what we want to see. So if it's not giving response, or if it's saying it's not permitted, right, then we would then see other ways to get in. Okay. So the protocol that it's going to use is your ICMP for 22. And when you ping, remember we talked about how it does the echo and reply. So it has to send the packet to request, and then if the other system allows it, it will respond. Most of the time they block the ping, right? Okay, other questions? So you can do a range of address, okay? This is an example because we're using a 10.0.2.15. So if these systems are actually on and exist, you would be able to hear their traffic, okay, or see it, ping it. So you can do an hping, and then you can do a range by doing this, okay? hping 3. Oh, I should say pseudo, right? Hold on, let me go back and redo this one. I wasn't on the, yeah, it should listen there. That's a Microsoft one that I didn't have it under pseudo, so you should see the time to live the packets there. So we ping as we trace it, right? We follow that traffic from our side to Microsoft.com. So do a pseudo, always do a pseudo before your command. Okay. TTL stands for time to live. And then it lists all of these. So I'm leaving my network, which is the .2.2, right? And then I'm entering, this comes back to, you know who, RCCD, right? That's their main right here. So even if we're isolated, it's still gonna come back through that router. This is the default gateway at RCCD, right? And then I'm entering another of their area, and then you're gonna go into the public side. You're gonna see all of these, okay? And then you, at the end, you should be arriving. See how it's pinging? So that's how you use hping. Okay. Question? Okay, next we are going to do hping, and then you can do a range. Okay, if it's not giving you anything, that's okay, because if these systems are not on, it's not going to respond, of course, right? So if you know at home, if you want to do this, right, you would do the 192.168.0.5 to whatever. If those systems are on, they're going to respond. So we can follow the traffic and ping them at the same time. All right, take a screen capture. And if you want to stop this, you just close it or end task.
It's like this thing is way more equal than all the other ones, but
So S stands for the set, right? So when you're doing the next step, when you're doing the pseudo hping3, this is for the set. And what it will do is going to group that, and it's going to generate, right, these headers. Okay. So yes, because they are not alive, right? Then you're not going to get, yeah, question? Pros, this one, like this? Yeah. As I was saying that these are not connected, they're not real IP. Then you at home you would use your real IPs. Okay, or in the regular world, we would use the real IP. Okay, so that's fine. Screen capture. So hping3, I put here that this is a way that you can send packets, ping packets to the target, and it's gonna wait for reply. Now we're gonna use nping. This is part of the Nmap Pro. So you can probe the port. So there are non-invasive tool and there are invasive tool. Nmap is an invasive tool. When you're using an invasive tool, you're not silent, right? You're going out to ask that system. So when you're probing that system, you're asking for certain things and it can come back to you. Okay, so be careful when you're using some of the tools that are invasive tool. An invasive tool is it's not just scan, it's actually gonna poke. Okay, so in this case, we're gonna probe. Open another one, and then we're gonna do a sudo nping -- TCP, and then the port, which is an option P, and then 80. So if you're listening on another port like 23, we can choose that. We're gonna set flags, okay? And we are gonna listen on the synchronization or the sync traffic, and our time to live is gonna be 2 seconds for this system. And this is mine, so. And you're doing it to your own, so you should see it. So here I put down the details on the command that you're using, okay? You're using a tool called Nmap, and this is a way that we can check to see what port is open. So when you probe a port, you wanted to see if that port is open and used. And for the SYN, because TCP, remember when we did the Wireshark, it sends SYN and ACK. So we wanted to check to see if it has SYN traffic, and the time to live is going to be set to 2. So 2 minutes there, and then what you have is the output. So here it gives you the response. So when I read this, it sent, right, packets to me under this port, right? So it's trying 80 and then all the additional open ports there. And this is like the majority of the things that you do is you use command line and you're waiting for results. That's our job. And configure and then teach people. So here it tells me how many packets did I send? Yeah. Yeah, as long as you have internet connection to remote. Yeah, so here I would see 5 packets that send. So look at your output to see how many packets you got. So I will put down here for me, I have 5. Okay, how many were received? Look, so it sent 5 packets, it received 5, right? This is the byte size, so 200 bytes. Okay, and lost none, so it was successful. So earlier, if all the IP address were valid, you would see, right? Like the set range. Now I wanted to try my own system so I can show you that it is valid, right? You can use this command on real connected system and it should respond. So when it's not responding, it's either occupied or it's down. Okay, and then it tells you the time, how many seconds? Yes. Okay. So it tells you how long. All right. Now we are going to use the Nmap since we've done the ping through the Nmap. Okay. So we are going to, so when you're using Nmap ping, you do nping, right? It's different than hping 3. So you're going to do a sudo nmap verbose, and then 3, and then you can put in 0.2.15. That's your own, right? So you're scanning on your own. So Nmap in the Windows version, it's called Zenmap, and it has an interface. But in Linux, you can use Nmap in terminal like this, and you will get. And so when you say verbose, it's just going to give you more detailed text. So if we want to see more information, we would use the V for verbose. So here it shows me that it's scanning, right? So it's scanning, and so Nmap is used to scan open ports, to scan that system connectivity, right? And sometimes we can actually see the operating system that's used too, okay? So after it scans, it only takes 2 seconds. Now, sometimes depending on how far that system is, if you need to connect, like Eduardo was asking, can I do this from the beach? Well, how far are you from the target? How many networks do you need to connect to? Can you directly connect to do this for your work? Sometimes you can't. Sometimes you have to jump through many different networks in order to get there, okay? So it shows me the number of packets and sent and received to give me this output, okay? So it looked at the DNS resolution here. Okay. It also tried to connect, and then it's looking at. So it does a few attempts in different areas. So now here is the important piece. Okay. What type of ports are open and closed? So it scanned 1,000 ports. Okay. And it tells me that too many fingerprints match for this host to give specific OS details. So it's not able to identify the OS, right? Windows, usually it tells you right away. Oh, that's a Windows OS, Windows 10, Windows 7. And since I'm directly here, there's 0 hops. So how far are you from the target? It will tell you in the hops. Okay. All right. Okay, so if you have your questions. Okay, so that's it for Cali today. More to come. So shut down now is a way that we can take it down right away. Okay. Now, if you already have your router plugged in, we can, yes. Yeah. Plug your router in. If you have an open, the one that already open, it should be set. Because these are not real systems, right? Yeah.
Okay.
So at home, if you're using a real IP address, right, it should give you something. Okay. So if I use a real set of IP there, that now it could be real IP, but they have to be on.
Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Yes.
Callie? Yes. And then enter. It's not gonna blink. Okay.
At the end, yeah.
Type it again. K-A-L-I. Press enter. You're not gonna see it. Okay. Yeah, it's not gonna blink the cursor, so you just have to type it. Okay, so if you're done, plug your router in. You don't need to plug the cable in. And then you can start part B. Now, if you're sitting next to an empty computer or non-occupied computer, you can make sure we press the power button in the back. You can unplug one of the monitor connection and then plug it in. Keep in mind that you need to put it back because in the next class that comes in, they need to use the computer. Okay, if you want to be sure, you can use the pen to do the reset button. Okay. The pin is on the bottom of your router. Okay. And the ID is there. So what we're gonna do is we are gonna go open up our regular Alienware computer settings. And then we're gonna connect, just like how you connect last time to the wireless side, we're gonna use the wireless to wireless. Show available networks. So how do I know which TP link it is? There's gonna be like 20 TP links in here. Look on the bottom of your router, there's a sticker. It tells you the number of your TP link. Okay, this is an AC router, so you have, it's dual band, so you can connect to either one. I'm sorry? Whichever one you want. And then the pin number is also located right on top of it. So once you have to be connected to it to configure it, understand? It's all logical, right? We have to be physically or wirelessly connected to it in order to configure it.
Yeah, or else you won't be able to log into the administrative page.
Yes. So the next part is you are going to, you can use a browser or you can use this, so by default out of the box, this router uses this IP. Most routers do. Okay. It's going to show you this. I want you to make a password. We should always change the default password by practice, right? Call IT student. When we're done, make sure we reset for the next group, okay? It didn't let me. So how did I get to this screen? I used the IP address that's shown there. You might have to make the password longer. Add a number or something. So which step am I at? I connected the router after I set up the connection to the router, right? I turn on the router, press the power button in the back. Then I go to the computer and I choose, I add the network, okay? So click show network. And then add to the network. Okay. And that will be C bottom sticker for the SSID. You can also click the Wi-Fi option if you see it, but you have to enable that first. Okay. All right, so we create the username and password. Then we're gonna go to the quick setup. Okay. Click quick setup.
We can add a gift.
They all do have that option. Click exit here, and it should show you the screen on this. So it tells me that this is the MAC address, which is the physical address of my local area network router, right? This is the router IP address. This is the subnet mask. Okay, you can also use an app to control it. Okay, once in a while, update your firmware. That's important on your router. Okay, sometimes you have to download it on the USB stick and then be able to do it. Make sure you read the instruction. 2.4 gigahertz band, right? This is my router SSID. That's different than yours. Okay, this is the 5G, should have the same information. I don't have any additional things here. So answer these questions by looking at that. Okay, how did I get here? I changed my settings to connect to the wireless network that's shown on the sticker. After I turn on my router, I use this IP address on my browser. So open up your Google Chrome or something and type that in. Then it's going to ask you to authenticate. You would put in your password and your username to make a new username and password. If you don't see that, that's because it's not reset. And then you are going to follow the steps. Okay. So when after you set that up, you are going to go to quick setup or quick start setup. Okay. And then after you click exit there, it's going to show you the preview like this. Okay. That's your summary of your router. So we record the information of our addresses, our subnet mask, our MAC address, the channel that we use. It should be on auto. So let's talk about that. Here, right? We see that it is a mix, so it will work with the older standards. I'm on channel 149, which is auto, right? On the newer router, you would be able to see that. But the cool thing about TP-Link is that it tells you everything on the right here. What it is, what you're using, what description it is, and so on. Okay. All right, next part. We're going to click on the network and we're going to click on LAN. We still have 30 minutes. Okay. What's wrong?
Oh, nothing. I just lost one of my.
USB?
Yeah.
Okay. So after I click network, I click on LAN. And this is where, if you want to change your IP address, that's where you're going to do it. Okay. But the default IP that comes with the router is that. So here, right, what options are selected? So I'm sorry, let me go. Here, you click on IPTV. Okay. So we want to make sure that we have IGMP snooping, and it tells you what this is. This is going to prevent your local network from receiving multicast group explicitly. We talked about this in our lecture last time. This is useful when you have things that are streaming heavily. Okay, when you like 5-10 systems are gaming at the same time. So you want to make sure that you enable this so that way you're not getting flooded inside your own network. Because when it's multicasting to the group, it's sending that out to everybody in that group. And the proxy just means that this is enabled for, you want to select this to be enabled so that way it will be able to filter and control. Okay. Proxy is usually like the traffic cop. Okay, so we want to select this, and you can also enable other things. So put down your answer here for A and B for 43. Then we're going to look at map clone. Okay. So click here. So here it shows me my MAC address, right? My PC MAC address. And if you click this, it's going to duplicate the public MAC, right? Which is your router MAC to it. Okay. So you can clone a MAC on this router. Not all of them have that option. And MAC addresses is the physical address that's ingrained on the adapter of the device that connects to the network. So we can say that when we click the clone, right, it duplicated the WAN MAC. So how do I know what benefit of IGP snooping is? Going back to the last question, some of you might be still stuck there, right? Look on the right, it tells you right here. Okay. So it prevents, right, the host in the network from receiving traffic in the multicast group. So that way it is useful when it is bandwidth intensive, like I said, when you're streaming a lot. Okay, so we talked about MAC clone. So when you clone it, it duplicated that, right? Then you are going to go down to the 2.4 band. and then you're going to look at the security. Okay, I want you to look at this so at home when you have something similar, you know what to do. Or at your work. Go to security. I'm sorry, click here, wireless first, wireless 2 point, and then click on wireless security. So this is where your encryption configuration lives. We want to use AES. TKIP is when old. We don't want to do that. And we also don't want to use auto. So we can use AES. Okay. And then this is the password that's generic to my Wi-Fi, but I can change that, right? And so don't use this, right? We talked about how web can be easily brute force. So if you wanted to test, right, aircraft, turn on a router like this, or an old router has web, enable WEP, and then try to see if you can use that tool to crack it. Okay, really easy, right? You just have to connect that machine through SSID and then try to brute force the password. That was the original intention behind this lab, by the way, right? But I'm like, how am I going to give them this without introducing them to Kali and tools? So we'll do something like that down the line. And then don't go home and tell your friends that your professor teach you how to crack password and you're going to go around the neighborhood and do that, right? So, okay. So we don't want to use WEP. Okay. So the version that is selected and the encryption is used, I'm currently using AES, right? And then if I come back up here, the version that I'm using is this, WPA2PSK, pre-shared key. Okay, so I can give you a key and it still authenticate your system to the wireless. That's what you use at home, is your WPA2 PSK. All right, we're going to click on MAC filtering. This is where you can block people, right? Even if they know your password. So deny is going to be explicit deny. That means it's going to take over, even if you allow some. So here and on the right, it tells you what to do, right? They give you the tutorial on the right. Oh, if I don't know how to do MAC. So if you want to add a MAC address, you just click new and then type in the MAC address. So I normally do allow. I only allow a group of systems on it and that's it. Yes, question?
I wish I could do these settings on their own. Ours is just controlled by spectrum and sophisticated. They're all in control. No. But let us have sorry, sir. No outgoing connections. No.
Okay, almost done. Sorry. All right. So now you can, like I said, we normally allow a group of people and that's it, right? Everything else will be denied. So you can click add new, right? And then you can add in a MAC address. Okay. So where am I at here? Yeah, it's probably getting interference right now, or somebody's trying to connect to me right now or something like that. Okay, yeah, it just ended my.
Yeah. Can't you just filter it so only certain devices can connect and anyone else can't?
Yeah, allow only.
The specific MAC address.
Let's see if I'm able to demo still.
Whitelist.
I think it disconnects me from the network. Are you getting disconnected too?
Yep.
No, we're probably getting interference. That's okay. Okay. So if when you add a MAC address, right, how do I find a MAC address? I can do this. Oh. ipconfig, and you would be able to find, where is it? Wireless adapter. I should do all. So when you do ipconfig all, you should be able to see your physical address, which is this. So you can try adding that. Let me see if I can zoom in. Okay, so you can add this MAC address. This one. Oh no, that's a virtual one. Where's my wireless? This one. Yeah. 28-3A-4D-87-41-E9. So you can find it on the computer by doing ipconfig-all. So for that step, you can add that MAC. Okay. So what I would do is I would add all the MAC in my home network, and then if anybody else trying to access, right? So you would allow those, and then everybody else would be denied. Okay, so that's called whitelisting. Whitelisting is better than blacklisting, because if you keep blocking, you have to keep blocking more and more and more, right? So MAC filter is better that you allow a group. This one, where my cursor is at. The physical address for the adapter, my Wi-Fi adapter, is that address. And those are hexadecimal digits. Their MAC addresses are using, right, the hyphens instead of the colon where the IPv6 above it, you would see this isn't a version 6. Version 6. See, that's different. So you can add that for that step. And then you can proceed to the next part. I just got kicked out of my router. So I don't know, I got to load back again. So in this lab, you learn how to add MAC for MAC filter now. So you would know how to do that in the case where you are asked on an interview how to do that, right? You simply say log into your router as an administrator, right? And then go to your wireless configuration page and click the option for MAC filter and enter the MAC address and save it. You gotta save it to the RAM.
I wonder how many of these you could link together.
Like bridge them together for what?
Just to extend the range. It's in the extended access point.
Yeah, I use that. I have an expander at home as a router. Okay, so take a screen capture. Then you are going to go to the statistic tab and you're gonna look at how many system connected. It should only show yours, right? Because there's only one unless somebody else connecting to you. And then it should, you can use the computer to do the deny, okay? And then you can continue. Now, when you get to the guest network portion, let me see if it loaded.
Maybe you connected.
Yeah, but I have to go in the back and they zip tie that down, so. Okay, so for the guest network, right, it should be disabled because if you're not using it, somebody can be on it and from the guest network, they can access your device. So we want to make sure that your guest network is always going to be disabled. Okay, so proceed to the step. We do have about 14 minutes left. So
You show the Mac network really quick one time because I was getting an error.
possibly because, oh yeah, it should allow you to add it. How are we doing? It's behind your stuff. I don't know. Are you following the lab? Okay, so here, that was on the filter. So now you're gonna select the allow.
Oh.
Yeah.
Stuff in.
I just think that I'm gonna go over there.
If it shows you invalid, that's okay. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, okay then. Just screenshot it as you add it. You don't have to click save. Screenshot it when it shows you, because it might not want it to add it because it's not part of the network. So as you type it in, just screenshot it like that for me, because I want to know if you know how to do it. Okay.
Well,
The steps, the process is important, not the output.
oh,
Yeah. Same.
Oh yeah, it kicked you out. All right, so let's stop there, okay? Because I know some of you are still trying to catch up when we have 15 minutes and we have to pack things up. So that's okay. Stop there, okay? So what the rest of this, so what we would do is we are stopping at the end of that page, 47. Stop here,
yeah, I got some screenshots. Of
okay?
right here.
Save that. You can submit it like that, okay? And then later on, if we have time, I will address this, okay? Because it goes over DMZ and VPN and all of that. If not, if you're taking my 40A, you are going to do this again, okay? This came from a 40A lab. Some of my students in here took 40A, so they've probably seen it already, okay? All right, so save your work. You can submit it that way. We're gonna stop at step 47, okay? At the Mac filtering. And then we wanna unplug, reset, and then unplug, okay? And then plug things back in for MVC, so that way the students can see the monitor when they come in. Put things back in the box. You can return everything up front. I'll put it away.
I remember when I had my OnePlus device, it had.
And then I'll walk around and see if anyone needs help.
Well, that's the most.
Yeah. Yeah, it should be 149.
One of these, even though iPhone looks the same.
How are you doing?
Hello.
Where are you at?
I was on this. No, close to the previous.
Oh, this.
Within the
Is your
screen. Yeah.
thing plugged in?
No, yeah, I didn't even choose password.
Oh, you don't need a, yeah, you don't need a local area.
Okay.
Connect to a wireless.
Yeah.
Put it in the box.
Browser. Make sure we reset.
All about puzzles. Well, it technically was a puzzle. I know, but the only puzzle there was, you know, zodiac stone puzzle. I like it. Oh, that's funny. When I went to go see it, he's like, "Is he trying to solve this?" And no, he's not trying to solve
All
it.
right,
No,
grab some
okay,
snacks.
he's not trying to
Make
solve
sure we reset and put it back. I know it's a lot of tedious work, but. There's a little bit of setup.
Even all your stuff there. I didn't set that.
So we can submit things as is, and then if we do the rest of this later, I'll put it on another document, okay?
I'm thinking of putting. Okay. Yeah, I know that.
You should apply to work here. There are a lot of student jobs, there's jobs at the makerspace, there's tons of jobs.
This would seem like a few months ago, we know this, like that there were positions here for like IT stuff. Those are
You
filled.
should go talk. Are you ready to do apprenticeship or what?
Yeah.
I have companies that look for 2 people to do computer repair right now.
I talked to the lady, but she's not.
You gotta pass the test though.
All right.
CIS25 test. Yeah, computer repair and components. You took my class, so you better pass the test. I'm gonna be very mad. No, but if you're ready, email me. I'll send you the test. Okay? And then- Yeah, you can always go on cameras. You should still be able to, let me know if you need to access it. I actually have a practice test, a separate email me. I'll give you access to a practice test. Test all different kinds of practice tests, Cisco and all. Email me. All right. Other questions? Anyone need help? Have a good afternoon. Grab some snacks. Enjoy. Yin is from also veggie and they're just Japanese. It's like a pretzel with dipped chocolate. Strawberry, lemon,
It's funny because those candies,
I like my Asian snacks.
checking
You
my
know.
spam. Okay, one of these.
That's why we need to get by. Let me reset my ching. Enjoy your afternoon. Have a good one. See you next time.
I can drive, but the car that I use is my sister.
What was the test you said?
It's CompTIA A+ practice test. Yeah, you have to pass with an 80%. So if you took the class, then yeah, you email me. I have access to skill sets online, which has all kinds of practice tests. But when you're ready, we can give you the practice test. You just have to pass it with an 80.
Because the other good it's a while back,
Bye.
but it's been a while.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
Mhm.
The one we took? Yeah. I've had it.
Bye.
I'm reaffirming because
Yeah.
what happened.
Oh, no, he did not. I did not.
But I need to get you guys a voucher for the real exam.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've been asking them, so we'll wait.
okay.
So you can join the, you want to do the competition too?
Yeah.
You want to do the NCL?
We did it
Okay.
before.
All right, so I'll get you the tokens, okay? For the mayor's cup, you know,
Yeah.
yeah. So the mayor's cup is already late.
Yeah.
They already they already passed all the tokens out. But I'll get the NCL, and so hopefully you'll be able to practice and get going.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll email you.
All right.
There might be multiple teams. You know me, gotta have the gear, so I'll get shirts and stuff made, and
Cool.
I'll let you know.
All right.
Bye.
Wait, so are you like in charge of the what's it called? The cyber club?
I am a co-advisor for the Technology, Engineering, and Computation Club.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And they're in it.
Who?
Max and this.
I don't know if they're in it. I think they are, but they want to compete. Oh, your pen. They want to compete in the league.
Okay.
Yeah, you can. I mean, you don't need a lot of experience
So I
to do
just,
it.
I just want to see what they're doing. I don't know what it is exactly.
I mean, you can, you know, they can check, but if you do it with them, you can see what it entails. I've had students that knows nothing about it, and then if they do it with a team, they get also coached by the team. There's a gym that you can practice, and it gives you hints on, you know, solution on how to do things. So after you practice, you can.
Like, what exactly are they?
Hold on, let me. Oh, did I
When
close?
do you guys meet or what is it?
That